You know, on mornings like these, I'm just feeling real good. The sun is shining. I've had no notification saying that I'm late on my rent, and, well, I can afford any game that I want. Man, I don't think anything really ruined this day for me. Never mind. Today's video, we're going to be covering Nintendo's most beloved little failure, the Wii U! The Wii U was released back in 2012 and was the first of the 8th generation consoles to be released. It was a direct successor to the Nintendo Wii, something that Nintendo wasn't really that common with doing at that point. They intended doing direct successors to consoles, but when they did, to be fair, they worked out pretty well. At the time, the direct successors that Nintendo had done were the Game Boy Advance and the Super Nintendo, and those both were really good consoles and they sold decently well, so well, you can see why they'd expect the Wii U to sell well as well. It didn't! The Wii U launched to a, very, interesting start. Majority of people, when they saw the Wii U, thought that the Wii U gamepad was an accessory for the already existing Nintendo Wii and didn't think it was a brand new console. And Nintendo really failed to market it as its new console, and well, calling it the Wii U, that really didn't help. Wii U? What the fuck is that supposed to mean? Most people didn't get what Wii U was. They just thought it was the name of the gamepad, and the gamepad was the big feature, and well, they had a real point to understand it like that. Nintendo was really only advertising the gamepad itself, so, well, can you really be surprised that people thought it was just an accessory for the Wii? This led to Nintendo not getting quite the hype they wanted for the Wii U, but, they decided, hey, we'll try this again, and they did. A second version of the Wii U's launch. They did it again, and this time it went only marginally better. People kind of understood it was a console now, but were kind of like, well, what's the point? Why would I need the gamepad when I can just buy a different console? Nintendo at the time, of course, thought they had the answer to this, and well, that was just getting as many different game developers onto the platform as possible, which they were able to do in the beginning, until they all left and decided to go to different platforms. Yeah, the Wii U didn't have many games that were made directly by Nintendo. Nintendo really struggled with getting any third-party games on the Wii U. And this didn't really help the Wii U, considering, well, the console was already failing because of the marketing, so not having any games on it, I mean, there was really no reason to buy this thing at this point. But regardless, when it launched, it actually didn't do too badly. It launched with some pretty high numbers, and well, after a month, they completely dropped off. Yep. Pretty much every single Nintendo fan on the planet, dedicated Nintendo fan, bought the Wii U within its first month, and after that, no one else cared. After its first month, everything kind of already went down the drain. Well, Nintendo was already starting to consider price cuts at this point. It wasn't helping that Nintendo's other console that they were selling at the point, their handheld Nintendo 3DS, was also not doing the best. And keep in mind, this was the early 3DS, not the 3DS we know and love today, so it wasn't really having the sales expectations Nintendo was expecting. Nintendo just wasn't able to compete in the market. I mean, why would they be able to? Why would you buy a Wii U when you can just buy a PS4 or an Xbox One, get more games and more power in it as well? But let's talk about the console itself instead of talking about its unfortunate legacy. The console itself is actually not that bad. I kind of like it, which is why the title of this video is Beloved Failure. Because despite the fact that the Wii U failed, I still love it, man. I know a lot of other people really like it as well. Now let's start with the main attraction. Wii U gamepad. This thing, apart from being an absolute fingerprint magnet because of how glossy it is actually surprisingly comfortable to hold. Out of all my handheld tablet type devices like my Switch, Switch 2, or Steam Deck, this is actually probably second most comfortable, just behind the Steam Deck, to be honest. It's actually really nice to hold. The ergonomics on this thing are amazing. The buttons in the back are really nice and meaty. They aren't analog or anything, but they are definitely nice to press. They're nice, they got a decent little bit of grip to them. I like them. The shoulder buttons here are alright, I guess. It's got its volume slider and its stylus hole, as to which the stylus that I've got will always and continuously fall out of there. Got a nice little volume slider. It's got everything you'd really kind of want in a nice little handheld tablet for a console. The front interface is alright, you got your screen and your camera, and it had the little interesting feature. The TV button! The TV button on the Wii U gamepad will allow you to control your TV and use your Wii U gamepad as a TV remote, which was actually kind of useful occasionally for me. As a guy who had it from a pretty young age, it was actually useful to be able to change the channel immediately over to whatever my dad wanted to watch, and then just use the Wii U gamepad for continuing to play my game just on the gamepad itself. The Wii U as a console, I mean, it was alright. It was the first Nintendo console to ever get a HD output, and that was pretty cool. That was a nice little innovation they added. Out of all Nintendo consoles, the Wii U is probably one of the larger leaps, just because it's a lot more powerful than the Wii, and yeah, the HDMI was a nice little feature that Nintendo would really been needing to add ever since the Wii itself, actually. The games on the system, despite there not being many third-party ones, the first-party ones by Nintendo they were actually pretty good. You obviously have got your classic ones, like New Super Mario Bros. U, that was an obvious one that was gonna happen. This was at the point that the New Soup series, people were kind of like, what are you doing, Nintendo? New Soup 2 had been released just before it, and now there's this, so I mean, what are you doing, Nintendo? Why is there so many of these now? And, well, Nintendo, they didn't really have an answer to it apart from money. So Nintendo released this game and it was alright, you know, people thought it was alright. It's just another 2D Mario platformer, and it continued on from New Soup Wii and 2 and whatever. Out of all the New Soup games, I'd actually say it's a pretty good one. Its single player normal campaign mode is actually probably one of the better ones in the New Soup series. I actually quite like it. Its final Bowser boss, while not difficult to beat, is a cool little thing, and you know, the game itself is fine, but you know, there's nothing to write home about, really. Mario Kart 8! The game that lasted for 14 years! Mario Kart 8, we all know this one, we all love this one. It lasted from 2014 all the way to the death of the Wii U, and then all throughout the Switch's lifespan as well. This was the first ever Mario Kart to incorporate actual, truly realistic graphics into the game. Holy shit, I'm driving! Oh my god! I've been pulled over! I'm in a shootout now. Oh no! Looks like I'm getting prison for life. The Wii U's ability to output actual full HD image as well really helped with this game. There's a reason this is the best-selling game on the Wii U, and, well, it's a really good game. Mario Kart 8 is objectively one of the better Mario Karts in the series, and 8 Deluxe is the best objectively as of now. So I can see why this was really exciting. Plus, again, it was a new Mario Kart. Everyone always likes a new Mario Kart. And the fact that the graphical quality just jumped up so drastically from the previous entry of 7. In 7, it was just like in any other 3DS game, but this was wild. This was so much more than just a 3DS game. You've also got your other franchises that ain't Mario. You know, you got your Zelda. Zelda's alright. It got 2 remakes on the platform, and Breath of the Wild originally released on the Wii U, actually. The 2 remakes of Zelda games came in the form of Twilight Princess and my personal favorite Zelda game, Wind Waker. Wind Waker HD is an objectively better version of Wind Waker. I really love it. I loved the original Wind Waker, and when I played HD, I mean, oh, it was just so fun. It was a really good game. Wind Waker itself was a really good game, and HD just adds not just the better graphical quality to Wind Waker, but also the fact that it adds a little quality of life features that the original Wind Waker didn't have, and honestly, I'm real thankful that they added these. Twilight Princess, I myself have not actually played. Why is Link a furry? So, because I can't really give much critique on it, but I know a lot of people like Twilight Princess. I know a lot of people want Twilight Princess HD to be ported over to the Switch, so I could only assume it's somewhat decent. But of course, there was Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was nice and interesting, and people really were excited to get this on their Wii U's, and then the Switch dropped, and this completely killed the Wii U forever. Yeah, Breath of the Wild released both on the Wii U and on the Switch, and, well, yeah, you can tell which version people liked a lot more. Breath of the Wild itself, though, while I personally am not the biggest fan of it, is a game that a lot of people do like, and I will give the Wii U credit for having it. So Wii U's version also has a lot of different features, and you can actually kind of tell the game was originally designed to be used with the Wii U gamepad in mind, with the Wii U's features, and well, it definitely does not become worse for using the Wii U gamepad. Another big title for the Wii U is Mario Maker. Mario Maker is such a good game. It was such a good concept at the time. Such an original concept. The idea of making your own Mario level and you could share it and play it with your friends was just something that hadn't been done before. And, well, I'm really glad Nintendo did it. The level designer in Mario Maker was actually pretty good, and the fact that Mario Maker actually got a decent couple of updates before Nintendo dropped the original was actually pretty nice. Actually, the same thing can be said about some other Wii U games as well. For example, Mario Kart 8 was the first ever Mario Kart to have its own DLC, which was actually a little bit of a surprise at the time. Nintendo didn't tend to do DLC. In fact, this is the first time Nintendo kind of really ever did DLC. They didn't do that before. So with Nintendo actually having DLCs for their games now, there's actually more things you could spend on Nintendo, and sometimes it's actually worth the while. For example, as I said in Mario Kart 8, you could get a whole 4 new cups, more characters, more carts, a ton of new stuff just from buying a little bit of DLC. At the time, I never actually bought the DLC, but I know a lot of people who did, and obviously I played it on the Switch, so, I mean, it was actually a pretty decent DLC. It was a decent deal to have. To be honest, in terms of games or the console or DLC or anything, Nintendo really tried to make the console thrive for as long as they could. Well, there is one thing we've yet to talk about. Virtual Console! You know, Virtual Console where you could buy old games and play them on the Wii U. Wow! This version of Mario released back in the 90s is actually a lot worse than the current ones. Why am I playing this? Virtual Console was something started on the Wii and the DS and carried out through the Wii U and 3DS until eventually being, well, killed by the Switch and replaced with Switch Online. Virtual Console essentially allowed you to go into the Nintendo eShop, buy whatever games you wanted, and then when you went back, you could play them, and these were often games from older consoles. These old games that could be sold to range from anything from NES games to N64 games to occasionally, I'm pretty sure sometimes even GameCube games, though don't quote me on that. I know the Wii U could actually play DS games, which was actually pretty cool. This is the only place you could play Mario 64 DS outside of the DS itself. Yeah, Mario 64 DS actually got its own port to the Wii U for Virtual Console, and it is the only time that 64 DS specifically has been given a re-release instead of just the original 64. The Wii U, of course, also had its own backwards compatibility with the Wii. You could pop a Wii disc in and then go into Wii mode and, well, it just opens up a Wii menu. This is an actual Wii, by the way. This is a genuine Wii built into the Wii U. The backwards compatibility out of all the features on the Wii U is probably the one I actually used the most. You know, the ability that if I just didn't find my Wii or my Wii wasn't plugged in or was at, you know, my dad's house or something like that, and I could just go and plug in my Wii U and play my Wii games on there, it was always a nice little experience to have. Plus, it was convenient being able to play both my Wii U and Wii games on the exact same platform at any time I wanted, so that was always a nice little add-on. But here comes the big question. If the Wii U was actually not that bad and it had some decent games and it had some decent features on it, why did it fail? Marketing. It was marketing. The Wii U was marketed absolutely horribly, as I said in the intro, and just to make that clear, really no one knew that this was a console. People really thought the gamepad was just a little add-on you could buy for the Wii and that Nintendo's actual console would release a bit later on. But nope, this was their actual console, and, well, if people don't know that that's your console, then they're not really gonna want to buy it. Well, no, they don't want to buy it, they just don't know that they can. Again, people thought this was an accessory. They thought this was just another Wii wheel or something that they didn't really need, but it was a completely new console. The Wii U, in my opinion, had some really good games on it, had some nice features, and as a console was a lot more characteristic than some later entries like the Switch. I mean, if you look at just the Wii U's home menu and everything, it was really, really nice. The home menu was really like the Wii and the 3DS's, and it took on from them with all its character and everything in it. I really like the Wii U's home menu, and I'm kind of sad they didn't continue doing the home menu trend on with the Switch. So, as a legacy, the Wii U was actually a pretty good console, and I would say one of my kind of favorite console. It's a console that I hold near and dear to my heart because I got a lot of memories with it, but I do recognize that it wasn't the best console for the time. It was underpowered compared to the competition. It wasn't marketed almost at all, to be honest, and, well, it didn't have the best third-party support. But for what it does have, I appreciate that. So, final verdict? Do you guys know if it's possible to return a console that you bought for just like a 15 to 20 minute-ish video like 3 days ago?